Tom Downey here for the Alabama Football Report. Alabama is close, we think, to wrapping up its activity in the spring transfer portal. So I wanted to break down what has transpired, what's next, where things sit for the Crimson Tide as we get to the recruiting-focused period of the show before we get into the fall camp, etc. Before we get to that, I want you guys to predict Alabama's record in 2024. Head down to the comment section. Let me know what you think the record will be for the Crimson Tide this season. So first, the transfers out this spring. By the way, of note, we're not including like walk-ons and stuff because that just gets muddled. That also goes for depth charts, by the way. James Brockermeyer, that was the one that hurt. That's the flip to TCU that I think took at least some people by surprise. It took us by surprise. Peyton Woodyard going to Oregon. That was the defensive back safety recruit. Two undecided players who I'm sure will find a spot soon. Tony Mitchell, the defensive back, and then Curtis Perry, the defensive lineman. Perry, we kind of figured was going to happen. That just the numbers game wasn't right there. Woodyard and Mitchell, we got double-digit transfers, players gone, NFL players, between the end of last season and now. It's just a borderline unprecedented turnover for one position group, especially one that large. The transfers in, so I guess we still count Kadyn Proctor. That was the old in-out move. He's back after the brief stint at Iowa, by the way. A new kicker in tow, Graham Nicholson, the reigning best kicker in college football. He goes from Miami, Ohio to a major step up to Alabama. And then Kameron Howard, the safety, who I maybe could get some of that Husky overhang roll work as well, from Charlotte to Alabama, with the assumption being there's 1 to 2 to maybe 3, we'll see, guys still could potentially come in to Alabama via the portal. So far, not including the assumption of other guys to come, how do you think Alabama has done in the spring portal window? We warned you of all the buzz, like, oh, it's going to be a crazy spring. Really wasn't. It was pretty light after Kadyn Proctor might be the least crazy thing that happens. No, it ended up being the most crazy thing. So grade the Alabama spring portal window results A, B, C, D, or F. A couple players we are still keeping our eyes on here. First up is DeShawn Jones, which is driving producer Chris insane. I feel very, very worried for your mental health about a Wake Forest corner. He's got multiple predictions in, Matt Zennett's 24/7 Sports, Nicholson on 3, both have him going to Alabama. Allegedly, per On3, he told Bama he's coming, did some of the paperwork, and then tweeted recruitment's still open, then deleted it. So who knows? Maybe we'll get final word at some point in the coming days here. But as we have kind of repeated ad nauseum, Bama needs quarterback help. It is not a spot this team wants to be in where it's transferred to Monty Jackson. A lot of freshmen on that list. Brown and Hurley and Mincy and Kirkpatrick, and I'd love to get Mbakwe going, but again, freshmen, you have, I think, good safety pieces right now and enough depth there given that some of your corners can play safety and the Husky role is almost interchangeable with safety, but it's a thin group in terms of provenness. Jones has played, at least. He wasn't some elite lockdown like, oh, yes, the future number 1 overall pick. Or round 1 pick, the next Terry Arnold. No. If we can get Trey Amos level play out of DeShawn Jones, that's probably a win at this stage for the Crimson Tide. Next up is King Mack, the safety out of Penn State, too. Kind of banking more on some of the recruiting history and upside for Mack from that perspective. Simply put, he didn't play all that much for Penn State. He had 70 snaps. He had 3 tackles after being a class of 2023 high 4-star top 100 recruit in the 24/7 Sports Composite. Mostly played free safety. He did a little bit of box, a little bit of slot stuff as well, but didn't have that much interest from schools like Alabama to an extent. Obviously, a different regime in there, etc. But St. Thomas Aquinas product now in the portal. Anytime a secondary player goes to the portal who's played and or was a high recruit, Bama's going to get linked to him. More names to come, but if you are trying to find the Alabama football rookie jerseys for guys that are now off to the NFL, J.C. Latham, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terrion Arnold as well, with the official numbers to come. Dallas Turner, the Vikings' first-round pick, or one of their first-round picks. Get yours today, chatsports.com/NFL jersey. We'll put that link in the comment section and the description of today's video. Simply go check it out. You have to search for it, but they are available, especially if you just search the player name. Chatsports.com/NFL jersey. Michigan State's Geno Vandermark has been heavily linked to Alabama. From the second he went in, shout out producer Chris was like, hey, this one makes sense. There's ties to the coaching staff. There's a need on the interior of the offensive line right now. I have to remember, you lose painfully James Brockermeyer. You've got two good guards, assuming Parker Brailsford is back and good to go, whatever. You've got the option there to have him as your, I think, really good center. You're in great shape starter-wise. Totally unproven backups. Olis Alinian, Josiah Nada, Rock Montgomery, William Sanders, Casey Poe. A lot of unprovenness, a lot of talented freshmen, but in the NIL era, you don't have to, you don't want to rely on just true freshmen as backups. You want somebody with some experience as a backup, and that's where Vandermark comes in. He's played just under 500 snaps, 499 to be exact. Hasn't allowed a sack, a little high in the pressures. Not a premier run block player necessarily either. And he spent most of his time at right guard. But he has snapped as well. So, and I think that is something to remember. Okay, he's had experience as a center. 21 snaps. The expectation is he can play center as well. And if you want that, that seventh offensive lineman, your top swing back up on the interior, maybe Vandermark can fill that role. Now, we're getting back to EA Sports College Football 25. I can't wait for that game to come out. How do you think Alabama's roster should be rated? Assuming it kind of adopts more of the Madden scale, 1 to 99, how would you rate Bama's roster? Sound off for me in the comment section right now. Khalil Jacobs, who we'll see if he ends up at Alabama, given just the large amounts of depth in the linebacker room right now for the Crimson Tide. Khalil Jacobs was heavily linked to Alabama the first time around when he got in the portal after the season ended, and the coaching staff changed, and then went back to South Alabama, then got back in the portal again. Auburn and others in the mix for him as well. The linebacker angle is interesting to me because you got so many pieces here. You've got Deontay Lawson, Jihad Campbell, who started games. You can mix and match to an extent the bandit wolf spots and do some inside linebacker stuff as well. You got Jefferson, Dixon, and more. You have pieces at the linebacker spot, and Jacobs is younger. He's got, I think, 2 or 3. The COVID years are weird still. Years of eligibility left, and you got 5 recruits committed for now. That number could rise or even maybe more likely drop by a little bit. But you don't have this glaring, oh man, we need a linebacker right now. But if the coaching staff likes him, given how closely they saw him at South Alabama, okay, I think that's, you give them the benefit of the doubt, especially in year one. Jacobs flashed a little bit, did some good TFL production, knack for forcing fumbles, has SEC interest, clearly a player that other SEC programs like, by the way. So overall, I think it's been a solid portal window. Like I mentioned, it was not nearly I forget who it was, one of the CFB guys, I've heard, it was Josh Payton, he's like, I have so much stuff, could be crazy. And I'm like, we'll see. And normally it's not. And it wasn't all that of a chaotic portal. It was a relatively quiet portal. The biggest chaos, I think, in the end was Kadyn Proctor snapping his way back to Alabama. You lose 4 players, maybe 1 or 2, you're like, that one hurt. You gained 3 and maybe up to 7. That's a net positive in the end after the great Alabama exodus didn't really happen, except at the defensive back. It did happen there. Now, our goal was to double our subs gained from May 2023 to this year. Last year was 214 subscribers. Can we get to 379? So clear that double mark. Help us, or need 379 to get to the double mark, hashtag math. We got 49 already this month. Hit that sub button for more free Crimson Tide YouTube videos.